smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on your notifications right now, because what we are about to break down is one of those stories that, years from now, you are going to want to say you heard about on day one. The Toronto Blue Jays just got the single best piece of news they could have possibly received in spring training. A 41-year-old man walked to the mound in Clearwater, Florida on Saturday afternoon, and what he proceeded to do completely obliterated every doubt, every concern, every whispered worry that has been floating around about this rotation. The man's name is Max Scherzer. And if you thought he was done, if you thought the thumb issues were going to slow him down, if you listened to the people who said he might not even be ready until April or May, well, those people need to go sit in a corner and think about what they said. Because Mad Max just showed up to spring training and reminded the entire American League exactly who they are dealing with. Let us set the stage properly, because the context behind Saturday's performance is what makes it so meaningful. When the Blue Jays signed Max Scherzer on February 26th, just 9 days before pitchers and catchers reported, the reaction from even the most optimistic fan base in baseball was measured. This was not the kind of signing that sends the internet into a frenzy. It was not a Dylan Cease trade. It was not a franchise-altering acquisition. It was a cautious, sensible, low-risk, high-upside gamble on a future Hall of Famer who happens to be 41 years old, who spent most of the 2025 regular season battling a persistent right thumb injury that kept him off the mound from March all the way through June, and whose regular season ERA last year was 5.19. None of those facts scream rotation anchor. They scream insurance policy. They scream depth piece. They scream, hey, maybe he can give us 10 starts and keep things afloat if someone goes down. Even the front office framed his return modestly. Ben Nicholson-Smith at Sportsnet had reported that Scherzer might not even be ready until April or May. The expectation was managed. The excitement was tempered. And then Saturday happened. 4 innings pitched. 0 hits. 0 earned runs. 1 walk. 1 strikeout. Fastball averaging 94 miles per hour. Touching 95.8 at the peak. Sitting 94 to 96 in the very first inning against a Phillies lineup that included Tree Turner, Brandon Marsh, Alec Boehm, and JT Realmuto. That is not the stat line of an aging pitcher hanging on for one last payday. That is the stat line of a man who has been building towards something all winter and arrived at Baycare Ballpark in Clearwater on a warm Saturday afternoon ready to show everybody exactly who he still is. MLB.com beat reporter Keegan Matheson posted the line immediately after the game and closed it with 4 words. Everything about it was encouraging. When a beat reporter who watches this team every single day says everything was encouraging, you pay attention. Because those reporters do not hand out unqualified enthusiasm lightly. Scherzer himself was characteristically direct in his post-game interview, the way only a man who has been a professional competitor for 19 seasons can be. He told reporters that in his live batting practice sessions leading up to the start, his fastball had been sitting 91 to 94 miles per hour. He said the jump into the mid-90s during the actual game was natural and expected. He described his arm as feeling good and strong all the way through the 4th inning. And then he said the 6 words that every Blue Jays fan needed to hear. His thumb is fine. It does not hurt. He managed it in the second half of last season, found a solution, enjoyed a normal offseason for the first time in years, and walked into 2026 camp feeling, in his own words, completely normal. For a pitcher whose entire game is built on precision mechanics, command, and the ability to repeat his delivery from pitch to pitch, normal is everything. Normal means the changeup dives the way it is supposed to. Normal means the slider breaks where he intends it to. Normal means the fastball sits where his muscle memory says it belongs. And normal is exactly what the Blue Jays got on Saturday. Manager John Schneider had been hinting at this before the start even happened. After Scherzer's first bullpen session of the spring, Schneider told reporters that he and pitching coach Pete Walker had been, and this was his exact word choice, pleasantly surprised with Scherzer's velocity, location, and the shape of his breaking ball. He said Scherzer's stuff was ahead of where it was at this same point last spring. Now here is why that comparison matters so much. 1 year ago, on March 8th of 2025, Scherzer averaged 92.5 miles per hour on his fastball in a spring training game. On Saturday, At this exact same point in the calendar, he averaged 93.9 with a peak of 95.8. That is a jump of more than a full mile per hour at age 41, on a pitcher who was told in the winter that he might not be ready until May. Velocity is not the only thing that matters in pitching. But when a 41-year-old is throwing harder in March than he was at the same point the year before, that is not a coincidence. That is a healthy pitcher whose thumb finally stopped robbing him of mechanical efficiency. To truly understand why this matters so much to the Blue Jays, you have to understand the injury landscape this rotation has been navigating all spring. And it is genuinely not pretty. Bowden Francis, the versatile right-hander who quietly provided enormous value across 32 appearances last season, is done for the entire 2026 campaign after undergoing Tommy John surgery. Gone for the year before opening day. Done. Shane Bieber, who heroically returned from his own Tommy John surgery in 2024 and pitched through the postseason including a crucial stretch run and playoff contributions, is dealing with right forearm fatigue that has kept him off the mound all spring. He has been doing heavy flat ground throwing sessions, throwing at 120 feet, slowly building back up, but there is no timeline for when he throws off a mound, and he will open the season on the injured list. The Blue Jays are being deliberately, emphatically cautious with Bieber, and for excellent reason. He pitched 88 total innings last season between the regular season and playoffs, which is substantial for a pitcher less than 2 years removed from Tommy John surgery. The forearm soreness that flared up during the stretch run and again during his off-season buildup is a warning sign that the organization is taking very seriously. Jimmy Garcia, the bullpen arm they desperately need back in high-leverage situations, had elbow surgery last September to clean up scar tissue and is also unavailable. That is Bieber, Francis, and Garcia all off the table to start the year. 3 important arms, 3 different situations, 1 of them available for opening day. And into that exact void stepped Max Scherzer on Saturday morning and made it feel significantly less terrifying. Now let us talk about Yvich, because his situation is the most fascinating and carefully managed storyline in this entire spring, and it connects directly to how Scherzer's performance changes the calculus for the entire rotation. Yvich is 22 years old. He was the 20th overall pick in the 2024 draft. He zoomed through 4 levels of the minor leagues at such a breakneck pace that he barely had time to unpack his bags between promotions. And then he showed up in the 2025 postseason, a 21-year-old with exactly 3 major league regular season appearances to his name, and proceeded to be one of the best pitchers in the entire playoffs. He posted a 3.58 ERA across 6 postseason outings, struck out 39 batters in 27 2/3 innings, and earned wins in the ALDS against the Yankees, the ALCS against Seattle, and the World Series against Los Angeles. He earned a hold in Game 7 of the World Series. At 21 years old. In the biggest game of the year. With the whole world watching. That is not a normal thing. That is the kind of performance that defines careers before the career has even properly started. But here is the catch that the Blue Jays are very deliberately navigating. Yvich threw 139 2/3 innings in 2025 between the minors, the regular season, and the playoffs. 1 year earlier at East Carolina University, he had thrown 93 innings. That is a jump of 46+ innings in a single year, for a pitcher who was 20 years old when the season started. The Blue Jays are not stupid. They know what happens when young pitching arms get overextended. They have seen it happen enough times in the sport to know that protecting Yvich's long-term health is worth far more than extracting 5 or 6 extra starts from him this spring. So right now, Yvich is being built up through live batting practice sessions only, has not yet appeared in a Grapefruit League game, and is not expected to be built up to more than 3 or 4 innings per start at the beginning of the regular season. Schneider confirmed that the team still views him as a starter, but the abbreviated workload is the plan, at least for the first part of the season. And here is where Scherzer's Saturday performance connects the entire picture. If Scherzer is genuinely healthy, genuinely able to pitch every 5th or 6th day at this velocity and with this stuff, then the Blue Jays can protect Yvich's arm without sacrificing competitive quality in the rotation. The piggyback option, where Scherzer follows Yvich for the innings the young ace cannot yet cover, becomes not just a theoretical depth option but a genuine competitive weapon. You use your 22-year-old World Series hero for 3 or 4 elite innings, and then you hand the ball to a 41-year-old future Hall of Famer who can throw 95 miles per hour. That is not damage control. That is strategic luxury. That is a front office that built something deep enough to have that kind of flexibility. And speaking of depth, let us take a full panoramic look at what John Schneider actually has to work with when he names a starter, because this rotation, even accounting for every injury and every question mark, is something the rest of the American League East needs to genuinely be afraid of. Kevin Gausman is the 35-year-old anchor, in the final year of his contract, with every reason in the world to remind the league what he is capable of when motivated. Dylan Cease, acquired this offseason on a 7-year, $210 million contract, is the ace of the future, already touching 98 miles per hour in his spring starts and looking like a Cy Young contender before the regular season has even begun. Trey Yesavage is the electric 22-year-old who already has World Series DNA. Cody Ponce comes in after posting a 1.89 ERA in 29 starts in the Korea Baseball Organization last season and earns the benefit of every doubt coming into his first full major league season. Jose Berrios is healthy and motivated after being left off the postseason roster last October, and there is nothing in baseball quite as dangerous as a veteran starting pitcher with something to prove. And now you add Max Scherzer, 3 Cy Young Awards, 2 World Series rings, a career ERA of 3.22 across 8 teams and 19 seasons, currently ranked 11th on the all-time strikeout list with 3,489 career punchouts, sitting just 20 behind Hall of Famer Walter Johnson, pumping 95 miles per hour and retiring Phillies hitters like it is mid-August in a pennant race. That is Gausman, Cease, Yesavage, Ponce, Berrios, and Scherzer, all of them legitimate major league starters. And then Bieber coming off the injured list sometime in the first half of the season to add yet another arm. The Blue Jays have a rotation problem. But the problem is not a lack of quality. The problem is that 7 major league starting pitchers cannot all throw on the same day, and sooner or later, someone is going to have to get creative about who goes where. That is a problem every contender in baseball would trade for in a heartbeat. There is one more piece of this story that deserves its own moment, and it is the most human part of the whole thing. When Scherzer was deciding whether to come back to Toronto for his 19th season, his 8-year-old daughter wrote a letter to the Blue Jays to help make the case. She asked the Blue Jays to please sign her dad because he loves the team and wants to finish what he started. An 8-year-old girl wrote a letter to a major league front office on behalf of her father. And then that father went out on Saturday and threw 4 hitless innings at 95 miles per hour and made every word of that letter look like prophecy. Scherzer said after the game that she was the one who pushed him to come back, and that he wanted to finish the job. A man who already has 2 World Series rings, 3 Cy Young Awards, and a postseason resume that most pitchers would dream of having, he wants to finish the job. He wants the ring with Toronto. He wants the one they came so close to winning last fall before the Dodgers took Game 7. That is not the attitude of a man who showed up for a comfortable send-off. That is the attitude of a competitor who believes there is still something left to win. The Blue Jays lost the World Series last October. They lost it in Game 7. They lost it in excruciating fashion. And every single thing this organization has done since that night, every signing, every trade, every spring training decision, has been pointed directly at going back and getting it right. Scherzer's Saturday start was the latest piece of evidence that this team is not just hoping for a second chance. They are building one. Opening day is March 27th against the Oakland Athletics. 20 days away. And based on everything we saw on Saturday, the Blue Jays rotation is going to walk into that day healthier, deeper, and more dangerous than anyone outside of Toronto was ready to admit. Mad Max is back. The rotation is loaded. The mission is unfinished. And this season is going to be something special. If this video fired up the competitor in you, if you are as ready for this Blue Jays season as we are, smash that like button right now, hit subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you never miss a breakdown. And drop your comment below. How many starts do you think Max Scherzer makes in 2026? And does he pitch in the postseason again? We want every take, every prediction, every hot opinion you have. The comment section is yours. Go Blue Jays. We will see you in the next one.